Yes, ma'am, it's done. Realized.
All right. Good evening, everybody, and a very warm welcome to all of you from BRICS Chamber of Commerce and Industry for today's webinar on emerging technologies in blockchain with focus on fintech and supply chain. In the year 2021, we started the Emerging Technologies series with a webinar on artificial intelligence focusing on the automobile and agricultural sector. The BRICS Chamber of Commerce and Industry is a not-for-profit organization which promotes trade and commerce in BRICS nations and other friendly nations as well. The Chamber, founded in 2012, with the efforts of eminent professionals and entrepreneurs in a not-for-profit, non-governmental international trade body. Brick Cci is registered body under Society Registration Act, Government of India, and is empaneled with Niti Aayog and the United Nations. The objective of Brick Cci is to create an enabling support system, especially for the MSME segment of business, young entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs, and startups from all across geographies. While the BRICS nations will always remain at the center of all activities, the Chamber has taken to its credo to reach out to enable young entrepreneurs, neighboring and friendly nations as well. It proposes to be the voice of the entrepreneurs and help them cultivate businesses with due regard to social, cultural, and security issues.
The program is in line with Digital India, which is a flagship program of the Government of India with a vision to transform India into a digitally empowered society and knowledge economy. Over the past decade, India has successfully created foundational digital infrastructure envisaged to enable applications like Aadhaar, UPI, eSign, DigiLocker, and many more. The technology space in India is growing significantly on the back of rapid end-to-end digitization of businesses. India is currently on the move towards blockchain adoption. Blockchain technology is among the budding innovations that will shape the potential of digital and online transactions globally.
Without any further delay, now I would like to request the Chairman of Brick Cci, Mr. Vishwas Tripathi, to kindly address the esteemed speakers and the esteemed audience with his welcome remarks. Over to you, sir, Mr. Vishwas Tripathi, Chairman Brick Cci.
Thank you, Jaya. Thank you, Shravani. A warm welcome to our participants, our eminent panelists, our viewers, and our sponsors, including TV BRICS, to this webinar 2.0 on emerging technologies of BRICS Cci with a special focus on fintech and supply chain, on blockchain, emerging technologies on blockchain. I'm sure that with eminent panelists today, being Colonel Indrajit Singh, Abhinav Ramesh, Subbu Joyce, Sid Chakravarthy, Dr. Ravi Chamaria, Safaruddin Farooq, Harman Puri, and Prasanna Lohar, and not the least, our IT vertical head, Nitu Kishore, who is also a technology eminent person having so many startups to her credit. Friends, I would like to, as we were discussing before this recording started, that I couldn't put the banner of emerging technologies blockchain because I am a little bit from the old school and trying to understand the technology. What I mean to say is that now we are discussing emerging technologies in blockchain. This blockchain, as a common person, and I being a chartered accountant, sometimes I feel, is it something which is going to block the chains? If the chain is blocked, and our technology and our eminent topic today is special focus on fintech and supply chain. So, are we going to have some kind of disruption in finance sector or supply sector? That is a question as a layman I raise before this eminent panelists, including Nitu Kishore. Since last 10 years, we have been hearing blockchain, blockchain, blockchain. But this blockchain more recently is being addressed towards cryptocurrency. And now I hear NFTs, it's an emerging technology. And whenever I go through the Google and all these things, I don't get a singular definition of what blockchain is. I meet 10 people and 10 people explain me in a different way what the blockchain is. One thing that I've understood is that it is a disruptive technology, right? Disruptive technology means that whatever is happening since last so many years, since last, whatever we understand, this blockchain technology is going to disrupt it. Number two that I understand is that it is going to finish or eliminate the intermediaries in the system. So now coming to fintech and coming to supply chain. What we understand is that if it is going to disrupt the system, disrupt the, I will say, technology. So are we going to, like in fintech, it is all finance, like cryptocurrency has come. And this is what something we have understood for the first time in crypto, that blockchain, blockchain, blockchain. And what I, as a layman, as a chartered accountant, I understand is this blockchain are digital ledgers, which has been created by a system, by somebody with rules and regulations and blocking everything that nobody can interrupt in it, and rules and regulation policies, everything is already predefined. What we have seen, this blockchain technology in crypto and other things, after the same was, I don't know whether it is correct or not, was somebody named Satoshi Nakamoto who invented Bitcoin. And from there, I think we all started hearing over the years blockchain technology. I don't know, it was invented by some country which is technologically advanced. Then it was taken up by Europe, America, and other countries. But now, if we see in the last so many years, recently years, it is more in vogue in third world countries, like African countries, like Asian countries. And now we are all discussing blockchain, blockchain, blockchain. But I think we are all are not very clear what the actual blockchain is going to deliver for all of us. Whether it is going to help improve the systems which are existing, how it is going to help. Like in fintech, I also am chairman of a finance company. I also hear every day, sir, you change your company's name to fintech. I said, what will happen? I will do the same thing. What will fintech do? Sir, it is in the vogue. If you make it fintech, you will add value. Investment will come and all these things. So I would request my panelists that supply chain and fintech, how they're going to benefit from this blockchain and how blockchain is going to help us without disrupting, though it is a disruptive technology, what I understand, without disrupting the system that is already are in a country, in the government, in the system, in the procedures and policies, how it can contribute in a better way, rather disrupting everything, and so many things happen which are not accounted. There's a fear that this blockchain technology and all, when it comes, it will make us that we cannot know what is happening and all these things. It will be very difficult for the government to control it. That is why many governments, including our country, are very much scary about giving, I think, permission and approval to this blockchain technology like crypto and all. So I will now hand over the mic to Neetu and our Jaya Singh and others from Secretariat to Shramani and all. And I again welcome Ashok Singh ji, our Vice Chairman, Ruhel Ranjan ji, our Additional Director General and Governing Body Member, to take the discussion forward. And sorry, I have taken too long. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think you've really put a very balanced perspective on the pros and cons and the challenges and the innovations that businesses and governments also may have. So thank you so much, sir, for your initial remarks. Now I would like to request our Vice Chairman of Brick Cci, Mr. Ashok Kumar Singh, to kindly give his opening address to all of us. Welcome, sir.
Sir,
Your volume
Sir,
is
mute.
on, sir.
Ashok, sir, your volume. Sir, it's in the bottom left, sir.
Is it okay now? Okay. Hello?
Yes, sir, very audible.
Yeah, okay, okay. A very warm welcome to all esteemed panelists and viewers. In today's webinar, we are focusing on one of the emerging technology trends of blockchain, and we have read how with many industries and domains, the various supportive and critical role that blockchain plays in medical domain, data security, education, agriculture, fintech, and supply chain. With technology, digitization, and rapid developments in these areas, digital employment is creating a boom in the IT industry, and blockchain is one of the fastest growing skill sets producing employability in this domain. We are aware that Niti Aayog is in works to bring up India Chain, which is an ambitious project to develop a nationwide blockchain network. Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India has released the National Strategy on Blockchain towards enabling trusted digital platforms in December 2021. The vision released by the ministry is to create trusted digital platform through shared blockchain infrastructure, promoting research and development, innovation, technology and application development, and facilitating state-of-the-art transport, secure and trusted digital service delivery to citizens and businesses, thus making India a global leader in blockchain technology. Innovation in field of technology are being very well received by India, and the implementation process is also very interesting, as we have witnessed during the pandemic. The immense growth potential in India is a boon for the new age developments coming ahead. If we want to adopt a more genuinely decentralized, completely transparent, immutable system to work with large communities where speed, security, cost efficiency, confidentiality, and compliance are the main priorities, then blockchain is the way to go. I look forward to today's webinar and to listen to the presentation by our panelists, which will offer greater insight into the world of blockchain and its deployment in businesses. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your very kind words and encouragement to all of us for today's webinar. Now, I would like to request Ms. Neetu Kishore, ma'am, who is our IT vertical head, esteemed governing body member, and Director, GVC Private Limited, to kindly set the stage for today's webinar. Over to you, ma'am.
Thanks, Jaya. So I don't want to take long to and wait, let the audience wait to hear from their the industry experts that we have. But I would still like to share some thoughts which have been triggered from what Mr. Chakravarthy brought out. Is it something blocking? Is it blocking the chain? I would say no, it is a chain of blocks. I would like to put it that way. And it is same as what used to be cloud when it was cluster of servers. That's how we understood cloud. So if I have to really compare it and say that the future cloud is actually blockchain platform. Now, how would that benefit? We will have to hear from the industry experts. It's not so simple to explain, but I would like to again relate it to a very simple concept of database. We have been doing databases for ages now. And database, when we talk about, it's like you put in a data, you change a data, you delete a data, you purge a data, you can do whatever you want on the database, but you cannot do that on blockchain. That's the basic difference. It's also a database, but it's in blocks. It is irreversible. All the transactions done are time-stamped. Each block is linked to the previous block through the chain. The chain is cryptography. That's the secured link. So there are lots of different things that is making this a platform. And it's not as simple as I sound. It is really much more complicated than that. But the best part is that the industry is going to leverage this disruptive technology for the business processes. So two of the businesses that we are talking today, supply chain and fintech, are the most prominent ones that really is going to adopt. And there are many other industries which are in the way. So another important thing, sir, I would like to address here is that yes and no. It might take away the job of a CA. We don't know. So that's what we need to be prepared for. How will this eliminate intermediaries? It may not. So we really need to find out where is the balanced way. So thanks everyone for your time. You'll be giving your time today. Let's hear out these speakers, what they have to say, what they have done in industry in these areas. And I'm sure it's going to give a good insight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think you've really given a very interesting perspective. And going forward now, without any delay, I'd like to please introduce all our esteemed panelists. We have today with us Mr. Abhinav Ramesh, who's the founder of Chainflux, and he has been recognized as one of the top 100 blockchain influencers in Asia by Lattice 80, and also the recipient of Distinguished Speaker Award at the International Gold Convention 2019. Chainflux is a sector-agnostic end-to-end blockchain projects and application development company focusing on blockchain R&D. The company has also got softwares which help companies to become eco-friendly and environmentally sustainable using blockchain platform to reduce waste, invest in renewable energies, etc. Very warm welcome to you, Mr. Ramesh. Moving ahead, I'd like to introduce our next esteemed panelist, Dr. Indrajit Singh, who is the Chief Cyber Officer of Vara Technologies, a TEDx speaker, and is in the list of India's top 30 blockchain influencers 2021. Dr. Singh has won the Innovative Leadership Award 2020 and Cybersecurity Leadership Award 2020. He has also served in the Indian Armed Forces and is an alumnus of IIT Kharagpur and Symbiosis Pune. He is Doctorate of Science from Lagos International University of Florida. Moving forward, I'd like to introduce Mr. Subbu Joyce, who is the founder of Origraph.io. He has been involved in startups in strategic technology leadership roles involving blockchain, DLT, and microservices platform in fintech, retail, e-commerce, healthcare, and e-learning. Mr. Joyce has filed for patent for Origraph and other decentralized platforms and solutions in fintech and healthcare. Mr. Subbu is credited with having implemented the first e-governance solutions for village administration in 1999-2006 near Bangalore. A very warm welcome to you, Mr. Joyce and Dr. Singh. Going forward, I'd like to introduce Dr. Ravi Chamria, who is the co-founder and CEO of Zeev. He has got 18 years plus experience in IT consulting, spanning across fintech, insurtech, supply chain, and e-commerce. He specializes in strategic management, technology innovation, product management. Zeev provides the most robust and secured infrastructure and automation platform to deploy and manage blockchain nodes and networks for various protocols. They aim to decentralize futures for innovators to expand the Web3 infrastructure. Going forward, I'd like to introduce Mr. Harman Puri, who is director of Block10. Harman has played various roles in the blockchain space. He is currently the director of Block10, a blockchain marketing company, and advisor and chief metaverse officer for Asgard's DAO, and a member of Area Advisory Board for MIT University. Although he has worked in several domains, specifically to fintech and supply chain with blockchain, Harman has contributed to the development of global supply chain project built on Quada blockchain. He was the DLT expert at Instimatch Global, which is a Swiss-based fintech creating a decentralized money market, and is currently the ambassador for Authentium and Algorand fund supply chain. Very warm welcome to you, sir. We are also delighted today to be joined by Mr. Safaruddin Farooq, who is the co-founder and CEO of Spendvisor from Qatar. He is an entrepreneur and a fintech enthusiast, and also a seasoned professional with more than 15 years experience of ICT and fintech market. He successfully founded startups in Qatar and UAE in fintech mobile payments, e-commerce, wholesale market, and business to consumer direct marketing. Interesting to note, Spendvisor to enter the Indian market as well. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Going forward, I'd like to introduce our next panelist, Mr. Sid Chakravarthy, founder and CEO of Statwig. Statwig is a UNICEF Innovation Fund alumni and a World Economic Forum Global Innovator. It's a SaaS startup focused and works to solve supply chain failures such as counterfeiting, black marketing, and stockouts by capturing journey of every unit of product in the supply chain. For example, the innovative solution Vaccine Ledger is customized for vaccine supply chain and is currently assisting multiple health departments to ensure quality and safety of COVID-19 vaccines. The company is a UNICEF Innovation Fund and Gavi Infuse Innovator and World Economic Forum Global Innovator. Today, we are also delighted to share that we are joined with Mr. Prasanna Lohar, who is the Chief Innovation Officer at DCB Bank. He has been listed as one of the top 50 influential leaders and among the top 20 BSFI leadership. He has close to 2 decades of experience as a technologist and innovator, and is a professional banker having experience in digital innovation strategies. DCB Bank is a new generation private bank with 356 branches across India. It is scheduled commercial bank regulated by RBI. Services include DCB remittance, online remittance from India to over 20 countries, and many other features. A very warm welcome to you, Mr. Prasanna, to Mr. Sid Chakravarthy, to Mr. Farooq, to Harman Puri, to Mr. Ravi Chamria, to Mr. Subbu Joyce, to Mr. Inderjeet Singh, and to Mr. Abhinav Ramesh. Now, going forward, I'd like to request Mr. Abhinav Ramesh to please take the stage and share his thoughts on today's topic.
Sure. Thank you so much for the very warm introduction. Very happy to be here. And thanks everyone for giving me the time to speak today evening. So my name is Abhinav. I'm the founder at Chainflux. Like the very generous introduction was mentioned, so we're a blockchain R&D firm based out of Bangalore. We build custom blockchain solutions specifically focused on traceability in the commodity space. We were founded in 2018. We're a team of right now close to about 30 people based across India. So we have worked on two broad case studies or two broad use cases on blockchain. So the first is we have created a private permission blockchain system to be able to track within the gold unorganized and often a lot of issues happen within the gold industry. We have been working for the last 2 years with the India Gold Policy Center at IIM Ahmedabad and with the National Stock Exchange of India, as well as presented this solution to various regulatory bodies as well on an end-to-end traceability solution for the gold industry. When I say traceability, I mean providing proof of authenticity, quality, source of gold to ensure that whether it is for digital gold providers, whether it is for physical bars that are being sold, to provide a trail of information that can be shared with exchanges, with banks, with investors, and with the regulators. Our solution was launched through a virtual inauguration late last year by SEBI, and this was in about October of last year. So if you just go to Google and type NSE blockchain gold, you would be able to see an overview of our solution. I could just quickly share my screen if possible. It says host disabled screen sharing, but that's okay. I can just continue. This was a one use case we saw. We saw a lot of potential for blockchain, because there was a step beyond digitization that was needed within this industry, where you needed to showcase authenticity, quality of such a high value asset, possibly one of the highest value asset in the world. There was a dire need for that across.
Have the share host rights. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Sure, thank you. So there was a dire need to create a strong data framework to enable this kind of traceability within the gold industry. So you can see my screen. Yeah. So this was what we had created. The launch was called NSE Shine, which was basically providing a data framework. Like Ms. Kishore mentioned, blockchain provides a new type of database. So hence created a new type of data framework within the gold industry in India. So that is the first use case that we have worked on extensively. Two other use cases that we haven't worked on, that we have been working on for the last 1 year, is around the sustainability industry. So basically, with the growth of the investments in ESG/climate related funds, growth of investments for sustainable products, we have created a layer 2 public but permissioned blockchain system that allows companies, banks, investors to disclose, report on sustainability metrics, as well as potentially in the future enable investment within sustainability linked products. This was another product. This was another use case that we have worked on. This launches later this year, but this has been something we have been extensively looking into. The third part is around the traceability within the food industry, where we have signed an MOU with the Council of Agriculture Research to explore how we can provide authenticity, quality, and tracking within the food, meat industry, locally sold as well as exports. So we saw a lot of potential for distributed ledgers such as blockchain, specifically blockchain, whether it is a public permissioned or a private public blockchain or a private permission blockchain, to provide traceability and authenticity in industries where there is a need from the buyers or the investors to view whether it is for gold, to look at if it's even 5 or 0.2% off, that results in a large loss in market value for me or large loss in investment for me. Hence, there is a crucial need for traceability there. The second is within sustainability or green. So to prevent issues such as greenwashing that occurs, how can we use blockchain to provide trusted sustainability linked reporting to various stakeholders. Similarly, of course, within the food industry as well, specifically focused on high value items. So these are some of the use cases we have seen and how we are thinking about implementing blockchain across supply chains. It is kind of a merge of fintech because we are looking into the gold industry, but I would say on a larger sense, it is more looking into the supply chain aspects. So this is an overview of what we have done and where we are heading towards. We are seed funded by Chakravarthy Ventures, and we are looking at growing over the next few years into establishing across these industries. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Abhinav. I think that's been really interesting, and we will like to interact with you more during our Q&A session. And now moving forward, I'd like to request Colonel Inderjeet Singh to please share his views on the subject.
So thank you everyone. Thank you Brick Cci. Thank you Chairman, Vice Chairman, Ms. Jaya, Ms. Neetu. It's really a pleasure and really wonderful to be with you all again. And though my area of work into the blockchain and the crypto has been into the crypto forensics and the blockchain cybersecurity part of it, and I'm into this space for quite some time, making the cybersecurity architecture for different startups, different companies. But today I'm going to be talking on the supply chain part of it, because we are more focused towards the supply chain. And one of the projects, what we are doing in the supply chain, I'll be throwing light on that. This is already rolled out in US. We are getting into the Indian market for this particular project. And you all know, there are lots of truckers who are there. There are lots of logistic companies who are there. And it's a huge business as you look in from a market perspective, right? It's almost 8.2 trillion global logistics market size. And they're almost, I don't have the Indian figures, but the US trucking market size is around 726 billion. It's really very big, okay? And it's anticipated that the logistics market all across the world is going to be $15.5 trillion by 2023. That's the area which is there in the logistics market. And when you look in from the segment wise, are you able to see my slides, please?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you look in from the tonnage part of it, the major chunk of the load is by the trucks. And if you look at from Indian perspective, the trucking industry is the most unorganized industry today, right? Because you have the shippers who are there are brokers in between, there are the suppliers, there are the people who have to pick it up, but it's all happening in a very haphazard manner, right? And the problem is that the complete logistics industry is fragmented, and one out of every 4 trucks practically runs empty. You'll be surprised, right? And 90% of the trucking companies have 6 trucks or less, and that's where the challenge comes for that. How do they really get the business? And there are multiple siloed platforms that cannot coordinate globally, and there's a lack of liquidity. Average invoice turnaround time is around 37 days. Working capital locked up in invoices itself goes to around $80 billion, and with a high capital intensive, almost coming to 3% factoring average, right? So that with these kind of challenges which are there, we have come up with a solution called iCloud TMS, which is primarily simplifying the trucking and the logistics with a decentralized fintech-enabled market network for freight companies to handle their shipments from the booking to the payment under one umbrella. So you can really have the full view of what's happening, starting from the way you book the truck or your load and where it's being downloaded. And it's a decentralized platform, like we've come up on the blockchain, and if we have the smart contracts put in the blockchain technology, we are getting into the machine learning. Like I told you, we are incorporated the fintech, because all the logistics do have the fintech component also part of it. And the platform actually delivers the distributed trust that enables parties that do not necessarily know each other. That's the crux of the whole, the blockchain architecture we are leveraging on. And who are the people in the game? They are shippers, they are freight forwarders, they are carriers, and the people who want to transact in a peer-to-peer environment with less friction. So it's really going to be really disrupting the complete industry of logistics and the trucking, which I've just brought it out. So this solution in particular, which works on the decentralized model, it integrates the data silos with public utility backend. It gives you a big advantage. It is safe and secure. Live market data exchanges can be there. There are cross-company workflow automation, which is there. Like I told you, smaller companies have got less than 6 trucks. How do you really, bring them on a single platform to work together? Data ownership is a major issue, which we are trying to protect it through the blockchain. We ensure the data monetization. And that is where we are, overcoming the issues which were being created by fragmentation and lack of liquidity. And this is a decentralized finance platform, DeFi, where we ensure lower interests which are coming up, instant credit lines we give it to the customers, and the lower cost of intermediation. So this is the kind of work which has been developed, and we are leveraging on the blockchain architecture for the smart contract and the digital transactions, third-party dApps which are there. And this is the architecture which we have created, where we have the blockchain platform, and the middle layer is the core interaction for the loads and the capacity which we are working on, and the dApps store with the third-party apps, value-added services which we are providing to the customer. And in future, what we are working on is a Web3 data substrate, which is going to work as a model for data exchange and monetization. And we're also coming up for the decentralized authorization, right? Which is a kind of a decentralized public utility backend infrastructure. So this is the architecture which is working on right now. And then we have the monetization. So we are having the marketplace, ITMS marketplace, DeFi, invoice financing and insurance, logistics data marketplace, premium services, which is a SaaS model, and a third-party application. And the end user are the shippers, carriers, and brokers. So these are the kind of architecture which we have formed, and it's a pretty interesting solution where we are seeing a lot of traction coming up, especially in the US market, where there are almost 15,000 brokers which are listed. We don't have a methodology of brokers in India, but they are having the brokers who really want to come up to the platform and take the services. So this is the backend system, the front end system which is there, where you have the complete workflow automation and the settlement layer with using the smart contracts. You are able to do it, and it's complementary to ELDs and the load boards, which is in the logistics, very effectively being used. And then you have where you can manage the complete thing, and it triggers the automated workflow in the smart contract by providing locations and allowing the driver to cryptographically sign transaction, know the location of their vehicles, load, and it can change. They can change the status, they can upload documents, they can receive payments. That's all on the fly. So the blockchain is one which is so effective that, excuse me, if you can mute yourself. Mr. Abhinav, can you mute yourself? Yeah. So blockchain is really going to disrupt the complete logistics industry. And one of the solutions, because there are so many solutions working in this space, and this is one of the solutions which I thought I'll share my thoughts with you, which we are working. We are working on the Indian market as well right now, but it's already being rolled out in the US market, and we are working there. So I'll stop here, and I'll take the questions in the end, and that will be, it will be a pleasure. Over to you, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Singh. I think we will be very happy, and I'm sure the audience would like to ask some questions. So thank you so much for your insights. Moving forward, I'd like to now request Mr. Subbu Joyce, founder Origraph.io, to please share his work and his insights on the subject today.
Thank you. Yeah. Before I go to the slide, a brief introduction. Been in the industry. And now for the last 7 years, we've been building what could be called the first Indian distributed ledger platform built completely out of India. And that's what I'd like to discuss about. Thanks everyone from BRICS CCI as well as all the panelists here. It's been, some of us are new colleagues, but thanks for the opportunity to present ourselves. Yeah, what we've done here is, for having been in the industry for over 30 years and worked on enterprise platforms all along, our conclusion was blockchain in enterprise has got its own challenges. So to overcome those challenges, we wrote a protocol ground up and then wrote the platform thereon to overcome the scaling issues, the latency issues that blockchain is known to suffer from. Those of you who may not be very familiar with blockchain, and some of my colleagues here can validate, blockchain has very low throughputs and very high latencies. Throughput in the sense number of transactions that it can handle but over a period of time. So if you look at the blockchain, the classical blockchain like Bitcoin are having a throughputs of under 2 or 3 transactions per second, while latencies can be in days. On the contrary, Origraph has a throughput of more than 100,000 transactions per second, which we have tested for about 6,000 to 7,000 nodes, and a latency of under 500 milliseconds. Now, what do we do with this type of system? And what we have done here is we have built open banking platforms and legal contracting at this point of time. We have a lot of other use cases, but this is what we're focusing on at this point. How does Origraph as a protocol work? Sir, Chairman, sir, you had mentioned about accounting and chartered accountants, and this is exactly the problem we're solving for you. As a protocol, what Origraph does is it's, and you said it correctly, it's a bunch of ledgers. What we have done is we have taken on the concept of triple entry accounting and built it in such a way that in real time we can do the reconciliation, settlement, and audit without having to wait for the current way that you work as the accounting firms currently work. So you will be able to in real time reconcile, say, an invoice and a payment which may happen 30 days hence. You'll also be able to track and trace it across a value chain while also ensuring settlement, and you would have audit and notarized receipts as evidence for audit. So the whole thing is taken care, and this is what we have been able to demonstrate to the financial industries, and there are a lot of applications that come in because of that. And the entire process of reconciliation takes under 500 milliseconds for every transaction that is done, and that is at a rate of more than 100,000 transactions happening concurrently. So you can consider a large exchange, you can consider a large marketplace, high volume forex trading, things like that. Can be that is the space we can sort of give real world solutions. The second aspect here is we have not implemented smart contracts the way it is implemented on Ethereum. We call this as active contracts, and this is something that we have patented. The protocol also we have patented. The active contracts here is a real world contract system which doesn't require too much of programming. What we have done here is you can upload a legal contract that exists in PDF today, and we can convert that into a smart contract or active contract as we call it. And not only will it automate the contract, such as embedding the KYC of the people on the say smart contract, but also execute the contract in runtime in real world. Say for example, if you're having a rental agreement, you can embed the KYC of the owner and a tenant, and then you can program it for paying the rent on 5th of every month, where you integrate it with the bank accounts of the respective people. So the entire system is automated, and that's how Origraph smart active contracts work. So these are two major innovations that we've been able to do. In this case, the payment that is processed for the rent is actually an NFT, which is only for that particular transaction. And that is how we've designed it. It's completely secure system. It has 4 levels of security to ensure that the data can't be hacked, both in transit as well as at rest. What have we been able to do out of this is that Origraph as a protocol and as a platform, as possibly it's the greenest of blockchain systems around the world, where our power consumption per node is estimated to be less than, I would say, 5 watts per year, which gives it a huge jump over existing systems. In addition to that, the memory footprint of it is also very small. It's just about 43 MB. That means you can actually deploy it on a mobile phone. You can make a mobile phone as a Origraph node. And that is quite a disruptor in that sense. And that is where we're looking at, in the future when, say, 5G comes in or maybe 6G comes in and you have better networks and more reliable phones, we can deploy it on phones. And those are some of the advantages. Origraph has been recently added to the Sahmati ecosystem. Sahmati is Reserve Bank of India's account aggregator ecosystem, or what we call open banking ecosystem, in which we're looking at disrupting the fintech space, where we can reduce the cost of processing loans or any other financial instruments to a few rupees instead of say 350 to 500 rupees it takes to get even a single KYC done. And that has been, this is something we're building as a full platform. So the idea is that anyone wanting to become an account aggregator can simply, take Origraph on, license it, and deploy it out of the box. Maybe in less than a month, they can be up and running with a lot of integrations done. Today, we are integrating with about, I would say, more than 50 banks in India. Besides, I would say all the KYC things like Aadhaar, PAN card, GST, registrar of companies and what have you. So it is almost good to go from any perspective of KYC or any business operations. That gives us a lot of power. Our focus here is, I would say, financial inclusion, and I'll come to that next. From a perspective of banking, and to understand what is open banking is actually open data banking, where as we go forward, and India has been one of the leaders in this, where all the notifications were passed in 2016, where banks are allowed to share data with the consent of the consumer. This opens up a lot of opportunities for fintech. This opens up a lot of possibilities for very high level financial inclusion, which is what account aggregator from that perspective has offered. So what have we done here? We're working with Prasanna here from DCB Bank for for implementing a pilot for MSME loans. We're working with, we also won the global hackathon that was done by the President's Office of South Africa for disbursement of scholarships and pensions. So these are two things that are work in progress. And we're also now done an integration for doing open banking in US and Europe using PSD2. And we just finished a tie-up where I think in a month's time, we're talking about offering farm loans where already about a lakh of farmers are on the system. So they can now avail loans, and the processing time and cost can be reduced from days and weeks that it takes currently to a matter of about 10 minutes. And that is what will drive financial inclusion in the future. We're talking about covering 81% of the population, which is in the informal sector. And if you have to enable that 81% to be brought under financial inclusion at a low cost and very rapidly, and for this country to, in a sense, grow from the $3.1 trillion to say $5 or even $10 trillion, we need tools like this to drive that growth. That is what Origraph account aggregator is trying to achieve. This is the beneficiary system that I explained a moment ago with South African government. So here we're talking about pension processing, talking about scholarship processing for different demographics. This is the coming to the legal contracting that we're working on. As I explained a minute ago, you can take a PDF document, a PDF contract, say for a rent agreement or a loan contract or whatever, upload it to Origraph. It will convert it into a smart contract. You can tag it here in whatever the parameters are and automate it for KYC. And from there on, you can execute it in runtime. So once it is compiled, the smart contract will execute the legal contract in real time, month on month, for the life cycle of the contract. So this is something I think that is also looking at disrupting a lot of other opportunities in banking, in insurance, in finance space. Yeah, and we also have a federated eKYC system built into it, which is essential for the whole platform to operate, because everywhere we are binding it to the federated identity of a user, and therefore covering that whole system. It's a given part of it. So you can integrate your Aadhaar, you can integrate PAN, your passport, your driving license, maybe your tax records, and then you can go to secondary level integrations like your property records, your vehicle records, and so on and so forth. These are very, I would say, loosely coupled systems where the data can be brought in from any source and bound to a single individual and stored under the custody of the individual. Today, we all have centralized systems where data is stored on a centralized server. Now, in this case, the privacy of that data may be in question, or confidentiality of the data may be in question. With this, we're able to provide the user the control of sharing the data and giving consent to it.
Right, Subbu. So, Subbu, in the interest of time, I'd like you to try to also give your final points also, so that we also not leave questions out. Thank you. Please.
Thank you. Yeah. So, in summary, I would just say that there's a lot of things that blockchain, or more than blockchain, I would say DLT, because blockchain is considered a subset of DLTs, distributed ledger technologies, that can offer a lot of other tools than just, I would say, cryptocurrency. The cryptocurrency hype is just one part of it, but there are very many other use cases and very many other applications that can deliver a lot of financial inclusion and other benefits to the country. Thank you. Over to you, Jeff. You're muted.
Ma'am, you're on mute.
Thank you so much, Subbu. I'm sure we will need more time to understand this better and to interact further, and we will take things on in the interactive session, certainly. Now, moving forward, I'd like to please invite Dr. Ravi Chambia, co-founder and CEO Zeef, to kindly take the stage and share with us his journey.
Yeah, hi, everyone. I'll quickly share my screen. Hi, my name is Ravi. I'm the co-founder CEO of Zeef. Just to give a brief historical perspective, so have been into blockchain space for more than 5 years now. Started with a company called Sophocles with a focus on building enterprise products. We worked in BFSI, including insurance and supply chain, power and utility, and various other sectors. Built quite a few solutions in this space. And for the last 2 years, we have been focused on blockchain as a service platform that basically provides a no-code platform to deploy and manage your blockchain infrastructure, whether it be enterprise infrastructure using permissioned blockchains or public infrastructure using any of the public protocol like Ethereum, Polygon, etc. Just a brief about the company. So we have been there as for more than 5 years. We have a team of around 75. And then we have done almost more than 30 plus blockchain production deployments. And we have 25 plus products, extensions, and ready plugins that are being used by almost 10,000 plus developers worldwide. We support all the major protocols, a member of Hyperledger Foundation, and getting a lot of traction from various enterprises like Vodafone and Intel. So this is our blockchain as a service platform. So basically we provide support. So we are basically helping blockchain startups, enterprises to work on, so they're making their life easier in terms of managing the automated deployments of different blockchains on the cloud of your choice. So we support all the major cloud providers and on-premise deployments. And in this process, one of the core challenge that has been seen in the blockchain adoption in the enterprise space has been managing the networks. The cost of deploying and managing the networks, and especially having a know-how. The traditional DevOps tool sets does not work in the blockchain world. Being a decentralized network, starting from deployment to managing compliances is a complex process. So the core value proposition that we bring around is that one, on the network and security side, we have multiple cloud provisioning. We have one-click node deployment or dApp deployment. So any decentralized application can be deployed, including all the underlying infrastructure, like the smart contract framework, blockchain protocol, cloud, including the orchestrations. And some of the services that we have launched is, one is decentralized storage that is being used by almost 5+ NFT marketplaces today. And we are launching, we are doing a major public launch so that more and more NFT marketplaces or other organizations who are building digital assets, NFTs and other fungible tokens can use our decentralized storage to securely store them. We are also launching a hardware-based security called Trusted Execution Environment. We have been working with Intel for almost a year now, and we have built a whole T as a service that again is being used, piloted by quite a few players, both in the metaverse world or enterprise domain. And again, we are going to launch it in the Q2 of this year. So we have a huge early traction in terms of, majorly we have 10,000+ developers, and we want to take it to almost 50,000 by the end of this year. One use case that I would like to highlight here, since we are focusing on fintech and the supply chain, is trade finance. So trade finance, we work with Trade Reboot, which is Abu Dhabi-based trade finance consortium. And while working with Sofocal, we created the whole platform for them. And so, so trade finance is one very interesting area. If you see the kind of challenges that we see today in trade finance, a lot of digitization happened as part of fintech revolution, but still most of the digitization is still in silos. So if you see trade finance, it's a very complex process in the sense that the number of stakeholders who are involved in the process is quite a lot. So starting from importers, exporters to importer bank, exporter bank, and there may be some other subsidiary banks also in between. And you have inspections, you have freight forwarders, shipping. So there are quite a few players. And today what has happened is, despite the digitization that has happened, still banking systems are not talking to the shipping systems or any other systems. So they're still residing in silos, and largely information is still, there's a lot of information asymmetry that happens, due to which there's lack of transparency, and a lot of documents need to be sent to and fro with other organizations. Earlier, it was more of a physical document. Today, they are digital documents, but still from a compliance standpoint, there is a lot of work that needs to be done to ensure that all the information is in place, and then only the transaction take place. So we built this consortium, and there has been a huge traction from banks, from lending institutions, including NBFCs, and various importers, exporters. Right now, it is live in Singapore, Middle East, and India corridors. And later on, it will be live in many other corridors. The value proposition in terms of reducing the overall time for trade finance transaction has been reduced by almost 70%. And I think with some of the more development happening in this place, like, video KYC, etc., I think it can be further cut down. And from Z perspective, I'll pull on the case study for this. So building a trade finance like consortium, building the whole enterprise blockchain, it's a very tedious task. So the whole engagement was done in 3 to 4 months of building all the smart contracts. And there were a lot of ready services that were provided by Zeev that could be used to build this application faster. And then the whole deployment piece of it, it was a Fabric, Hyperledger Fabric based network. Initially, when they built it, it was built on version 1.40. And when they actually went live with a couple of banks and exporters, they wanted to upgrade it to 2.2 of Hyperledger. So again, the whole upgrade process of upgrading the smart contracts to the underlying infrastructure, Zeev platform handled that. because we were already supporting 2.2 before it was even launched in the market. So with that, using Zeef platform, they realized a cost saving of almost 45% of managing the deploying and managing the network, and much faster time to market. What eventually would have taken almost 3 to 4 weeks was done in a day's time. And plus, they have a full analytical and monitoring dashboard to manage their blockchain network. So today they have almost 60, 65 plus nodes, and everything is being managed by simply using the platform without any DevOps team. So that is what the value the platform brings in, that you can build your blockchain application much faster. And the major focus is in the banking and fintech space, where we also bring in a lot of standardization in terms of security and compliances, which are very much required in the financial space or healthcare and few other sectors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ravi, for sharing all these insights with us. And I think we are slightly more educated now with your presentation. Thank you so much. Moving forward, I'd like to, before I invite our next speaker, I'd like to quickly share with my audience that we have with us Mr. Dhairya Maheshwari, who's Senior Correspondent of Sputnik International, who we will bring in towards the latter half of the session when we have our interactive session, so that Sputnik International can also ask questions to the speakers and to anybody that they want to. So moving forward, I would so welcome Mr. Dhairya, and thank you for joining us today, and please do stay with us. Moving forward, I'd like to invite Mr. Harman Puri, who is Director Blockchain, to please share his insights.
Sure.
Over to you.
Thank you so much, Chaya. And thank you so much, Brick Cci, for having me here. I'll just quickly get to the my understanding of the space and what I want to share with the audience. So being in the blockchain space for the past 3.5 years, what I have came to a conclusion on is that people want to understand why they exactly need blockchain. As rightly pointed out in the start, that blockchain is quite complex. You can say that it's just a chain of blocks at a very high level, but when you go more deep into the technology part, it's quite complex, and it's not for every person to understand how it exactly works, right? And for a general person, a normal user, to understand the importance of blockchain, what they need to understand is where exactly blockchain is adding value to their lives, right? As a normal person who is just living his life sitting at home, how exactly blockchain is going to help him. So coming to more from a use case perspective, when we talk about blockchain in supply chain directly, there are these 6 use cases where blockchain provides value: security, transparency, traceability, efficiency, collaboration, and auditability. So as discussed in previous presentations of specific products, these are the basic criterias where blockchain has been focused on, where blockchain adds tremendous value. And specific to the banking bit, the use cases of blockchain in the banking sector, you can say there are multiple use cases. These are just a few that I have mentioned, 15. Like interbank transactions, smart contracts, legalization, serving the unbanked, trade finance. And one of the most lucrative ones that I feel is a kind of like an entry barrier to most people, specific to the Indian audience. If we look, 55% of Indians have a mindset of savings account. That's I read randomly in a report somewhere. And when we talk about savings, just as an example, in a traditional banking system, we get maybe 5%, 6% interest rate on our savings, right? What blockchain enables is that more frictionless ecosystem with much faster processing rates, more transparency into how the funds are being utilized. And even with a stable system on blockchain, a person can get up to 12%, 15%, or even 20% of interest rate. So for instance, I was working with this platform based out of Canada, public listed company based out of Canada. I'll just share my screen again. So it's on a different screen. I'll just share that. Yes. So recently, almost 2 months ago, this company got funded by MasterCard. So MasterCard, as we know, is one of the biggest players in the fintech space after Visa. So they are the second largest in this space. And the reason why MasterCard funded this DeFi based protocol is because they also recognize the value of how users are going to benefit from a decentralized banking space. So what Cash provides is that a user just deposits his fund through maybe an on-ramp services, converting his fiat currency into a stable coin, and then getting 12 to 15% interest rate on that. So this is how blockchain adds tremendous value to every user, regardless of where they are or what nationality they have, what kind of process they want to follow, with a completely secured and legal kind of. Coming to the main bit, so these, according to me, are the 6 essential elements that everyone needs to understand in order to understand why blockchain, specifically in fintech and supply chain, is required. So coming to the first bit, security and data privacy. Data is like a gold mine in this world. Facebook controls most of the data. Similarly, other companies, they control most of the data, and that's what helps them to grow even more. When we as a user have more control over our data, we can explore a new vertical where we can control what we see, what we do, and what we want to do, right? So I won't get into much bit about how data can be used in different ways, but in a nutshell, as a user, our data is very critical to have control on. If we know where our data is being used, then we can control how our lives are guided forward. Next, provenance, the most spoken benefit of blockchain, that blockchain creates an audit trail. Just as it was mentioned that blockchain is basically a chain of blocks. It means that it creates a chain of transactions in a chronological order. We know that, okay, this transaction happened at a particular time, and this is how it progressed in the chain. So by having provenance, troubles like counterfeiting and fraud, they are completely eradicated, which in a scenario of, let's say, a normal supply chain process, even in a very basic supply chain process, counterfeiting and fraud, that can be completely eliminated. So just because we have an immutable database of blockchain that enables us to have a complete record of transactions, we can enhance or we can induce more trust in the system directly. The most important bit is the integrity bit. Companies like Starbucks have introduced blockchain in their ecosystem, or maybe Walmart that introduced blockchain for their supply chain, for the same reason that users today, they want to have more trust. People are more aware about what they are trying to, what they're eating or what they're buying. So what they want is a complete assurity that they are buying a quality product if they are paying for that, right? And that's where blockchain comes into play. If you are maybe buying one apple, and someone says that it's a Kashmiri apple, it came from a distant land, it has much more qualities, it has much more nutrients, right? You just buy it for a higher price. But how do you exactly know it's actually that apple? That's where blockchain comes in with the time and date stamped records, immutable records. You can directly go to the any blockchain app that provides this kind of facility and see that the produce that I'm buying is actually having that quality. And if I'm paying X plus X amount, if I'm paying twice the amount, I'm actually getting twice the quality. I'm not just trusting a third party, right? So that's something that is very much required in this space. The fourth, automation bit, cutting the time, streamlining the whole ecosystem, making sure that the processes are streamlined, right? For example, for a normal rent agreement, you have to go through an extensive process. No one knows exactly how to do that for the first time that they are doing it. You have to, okay. So basically, smart contracts are, just a piece of code that helps automate things on the blockchain ecosystem. In a nutshell, it's just, pre-specified conditions that are met and next steps are executed based on that. So rather than going through any traditional way and exploring new ways, you can just trust a code which has been audited, which has gone through extensive testing, and the whole process can be done maybe in a few seconds. Fifth, traceability, which is the root of, again, the whole supply chain ecosystem and even the fintech ecosystem. The reason why, central bank digital currencies have become so popular is because not only they provide a more digital infrastructure, but also that they improve the traceability factor on each and every money that's spent. Right. So traceability is something which we can think of in every aspect of our lives, again, starting from the food that we eat, clothes that we wear, any things that we buy, and similarly, even the finances that we do. And lastly, liquidity. Yeah. So one thing that I think all of us will agree on is that NFTs have become the first news that we read in the morning, whether it's any celebrity, selling NFTs, or any, other, potential person who has, introduced an new NFT in the market. We all know that, okay, this is a new asset class that is currently taking a lot of, center stage right now. So NFTs are just one bit. Blockchain as a technology is the one which has enabled NFTs to exist. Similarly, tokenization is another concept, CBDCs are another, and DeFi is another. So using blockchain technology, these kind of concepts have emerged in the market, where liquidity is not just something that we think about, but it's something that we can actually realize. If you have a land, real estate in a very distant location, you don't have to go through a traditional municipality process to sell that, maybe, or to get loans on the basis of that, or to leverage that for any liquidity purpose. If it exists on blockchain, you can directly leverage it, which improves the overall system and the overall economy. So in a nutshell, I'll just summarize this. I personally have been working with different companies in terms of supply chain and agriculture. I have been fortunate enough to start my career with supply chain only. And what I've observed in the market is that people need to understand how exactly blockchain is going to add value to their lives using these particular industries, rather than just actually
Hello.
I'm sorry, can the admin please?
Hello. Why did you kick? I was drawing penises on the board and you just decided to kick me. No funny. Hello.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah. So as I was saying, having the essence of blockchain in these industries is the primary objective. With that, I'd like to conclude. Chaya, please take over.
Thank you so much, Harman, for that very insightful presentation. And now moving forward, I'd like to please invite Mr. Safruddin Farooq to please share his perspectives with us. Mr. Farooq.
Thank you, Jaya, for the invitation, and thank you, BRICS, for the opportunity for the session. Let me share my screen.
Thank you, sir.
Can I see the presentation?
Yes.
So thank you. My name is Safruddin Farooq. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Spendwiser. Spendwiser focuses on payment and software solutions in Qatar. So basically, we aggregate the SME merchants and we provide the digital platform for the SMEs to accept payment and also run marketing platforms and other sort of things, right? So if you look at areas in Qatar and the Middle East, the SMEs is still kept off a digital and financial inclusion, and we are here to solve the problems. We provide that digital platform for the SMEs to accept payment as well as run marketing campaign. We also provide solutions like market now, pay later, buy now, pay later, all these options bundled on our technology. I'm pretty new to blockchain, and this area is also new to the blockchain. We recently trying and testing the blockchain infrastructure here. Recently, the Qatar Central Bank announced to issue digital currencies, still not sure whether it's going to run on the blockchain. So I'm going to go through a basics on blockchain, what understanding do we have, and how we are planning to bring it in this area, and what early stages are there. So blockchain in payments, as you can see, today many industries are moving towards blockchain-based business payment. So every day across the globe, adoption rates are increasing. So be it into the individual bank or fintech companies, central bank or SIFT, everybody is into experimenting with blockchain-based payment solutions, right? So blockchain technology promises to facilitate fast, secure, low-cost international payment services through the use of encrypted distributed ledgers that provide trusted real-time verification of transactions without the need for intermediaries such as correspondent banks and clearinghouse. This is where major application of payments are applied, where they eliminate the need for the central authority. It's basically, the technology was basically used to support digital currencies like Bitcoin, but it's now been used to explore for a variety of applications that don't involve Bitcoin, right? So the main areas, blockchain activity that may see more actions and more implications for business are definitely international payment processing services, which involve bank-to-bank transfers, trade finance application, as explained for the last the presentation, the use of smart contracts. These areas are ripe for disruption because existing systems are often old, slow, and costly. According to a report by Credit Suisse, which notes that today's cross-border wire payments can take days to clear and involves fees as 10%, right? So in the nutshell, blockchain is the solution for all the payment problems faced by today. So what are the main payment problems faced? In terms of payments and fraud and chargeback, the current system is inefficient to tackle the payment frauds and chargeback, and blockchain can play a huge role in identifying that. Delayed cross-border transactions because of multiple involvement between different banks and different regulations. The cross-border transactions is not efficient, and definitely blockchain can easily solve these issues, right? Card security, the blockchain is definitely the one which can provide much more secure transaction. Technical integration, the open interoperability of the blockchain provides much more integrations. Processing fees can be reduced dramatically. Right now, still, processing fees are almost 10%. This can be brought down dramatically. Cyber attacks can be reduced, and peer-to-peer transfer can be improved. KYC process can be improved. So during the couple of hours, we are seeing a lot of application which improves KYC, which improves the cross-border payments, which also improves the fraud check. So these are the areas where the current problems faced by the payment sector, which can be solved by the blockchain technologies. So the blockchain ecosystem is very simple. Let me move forward to the next section. Basically, the payments today is basically mostly it's a batch oriented, and also it's geographic siloed, and there's a lot of interoperability, and it's centralized and relatively insecure, right? So this is the areas where blockchain is actually evolving, and they provide the distributed ledger for the transfer, where they completely eliminate the need for central authority to certify ownership and clear transaction. And this is the disruptive technology or the disruption blockchain is bringing into the payments. One second. So blockchain payments are increasing dramatically. According to the latest report, more than 200 global banks have introduced themselves with a full-scale commercial blockchain solution across 5 global regions, which is North America, Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Latin America, and Asia Pacific. Familiarity with the blockchain and cryptocurrency ranges from a whopping of 82 to 94%. Meanwhile, positive sentiments in the both countries grow, with favorably among cryptocurrencies somewhat strong across regions, about 75%. So many of these institutions adopted blockchain technology to increase the speed of payment, achieve high level of reliability, improve data transparency, and realize long-term operational cost savings. Blockchain solutions continue to scale as a business introduce new services to existing customer segment or expand existing service to new segment, right? You can see its solutions are scaling. Digital assets are increasingly being considered for facilitating payments, especially when paired with blockchain technology. Industry innovators are realizing significant growth even amid COVID-19. Technologies are connecting global financial systems so they're easily interoperable, efficient, affordable, and accessible. And it's also reducing the cost and time of cross-border payments. And confidence in blockchain technology is rising as more government and business invest in these areas. So what are the main problems? I want to come down to the 4 or 5 main problems solved by the blockchain. Definitely is the first one is the payment and the fraud. So the increasing amount of payment thefts and the frauds are quite alarming at the moment. In reality, due to the expansion of the e-commerce sectors, the opportunity for misusing the information of consumers, card thefts are happening more aggressively. Also, chargebacks are really costly, and it can single-handedly damage a business reputation, right? And increasing the number of chargebacks can even kill the business as well. So the issues are in many cases, the chargebacks don't happen as a legitimate reason, so the fraudulent activities pile up and make it hard for the business to be in the long run. More so, the theft problems cause massive issues on the consumer end when then lost interest in the brand. The solution is definitely the blockchain for payments processing is the highest security it offers for the data. As you already know, merchants fail to comply with all the needs of the certification. In most cases, they tend to ignore the fact that card data security should have the highest priority. That's why the standards have very limited amounts of security for the customer's card information, right? However, with the blockchain billing system, the scenario can change drastically. In reality, blockchain can offer a secure network process where merchant can store the information of the customers and no one will be able to access it. And definitely, I've come across the delayed cross-border transaction. This is where much of the blockchain applications payment is applied, which helps improvement of the cross-border transactions. And high processing fees, as you know, in terms of the area, the merchant acceptance fee still stands at 2-3%. And if you look at the cross-border transaction, it's much higher than 10%. By implementing blockchain, we can reduce the processing fees dramatically. And in terms of KYC procedures, definitely smart contracts and other application, we can really bring it down much lower. And trade finance, one of my colleagues concluded the trade finance issues as a big issues, the costly matter, where blockchain has proved a lot of solutions to bring down the trade finance cost and the transaction. Retail acceptance and B2B payments, blockchain is really improving on that, and they're bringing the entire retail ecosystem to accept low cost and also bring on innovative loyalty payments. You see the 2% transaction charges has been changed for 130 years, and that is definitely the disruptive thing the blockchain is bringing onto the payment. If you can see this is the Bitcoins and the market cap of the blockchain. If you can see Bitcoin, it stands at 43,000 and it has a market cap of 821. And Ethereum stands at 36 billion. So there is a current market cap of cryptocurrencies, which is mainly run on the blockchain. Now, how does it's used on the retail payment, right? I want to put a use case of Solana Pay, where they announce in a blog post that it products lets merchant accept USD coin, stable coin, and other cryptocurrencies with tiny fees nearly instantly. So the blockchain is the leading company from offering cheaper, faster, and more scalable transactions. And now retailers across US will be able to accept blockchain as a payment for any of the purchases, right? That's what the innovation brought by Solana Pay. By using that, you will be able to purchase any item from a retail, from a grocery store using blockchain and the currencies, right? And there are many options they're bringing in. It's the next generation of merchant payment and commerce offering low cost, instant settlement for online and in-store payment. And it said, in the announcement, it said that it promises immediate settlement, fees of fraction of cent, and scalably up to 60,000 transactions per second, is rivaling the Visa's 65,000 TPS, right? The new product uses QR code to enable payment in the direct peer-to-peer transaction between the consumer and the merchant, using a digital wallet rather than a fee charging intermediary like a bank, credit card, Apple Pay. So it is definitely disrupting that area. While Solana Pay used as a NATI as sole cryptocurrency or any other token built on its blockchain, The largest focus on Circle, they will start with USDS as the number 2 stablecoin in the US, and USDS is primarily built on Ethereum, but it has a NACT tokens on several other blockchains, including Solana. The version of this chain currently has a market capitalization of 4 billion out of USD $50 billion, right? So blockchain is coming into retail payment, and it's very innovative, disruptive, which will definitely kill the rails of Visa and MasterCard, and then introduce a new rail where the retail payment acceptance can be brought down to very, very narrow. And one of the experience is really amazing. Let's say using how the Sona Pay customer experience would be. Let's say a user, a sneaker buyer, walks into a store to buy the hottest new release. Aside from the sneakers, the customer bought through the cryptocurrencies, the Solana Play, he walks out basically with other 2 NFTs in her wallet. So one is the digital version of the sneaker she just bought, which can be usable by her metaverse avatar. Another one is a way into the merchant's exclusive online community of verified sneaker lovers, meaning the loyalty program size. The moment the Solana Pay or such kind of wallet gets mainstream, the consumer experience is really interesting. Besides getting the sneaker they want, which they're buying through the blockchain, they also will get 2 NFTs. One can be the same sneaker on an NFT, which can be used on her avatar. And second one can be the NFT, which can be a part of a loyalty program. So this is how it is disrupting the retail payment, and it is moving towards a very interesting stage where consumer experience will be much better, which is from right now. And so this is a world where when blockchain is connected, you can see how it's improved. And I should conclude here, and thank you, and looking for the sessions for the questions. Thanks, Jaya.
Thank you so much, Mr. Farooq. I think that was really interesting, and we'll certainly like to keep the conversation going, and we'll keep interacting. So thank you so much. Moving forward, now I'd like to invite Mr. Sid Chakravarthy, founder and CEO of Statwig India, to please share his perspective with all of us here. Over to you, sir.
Hey, thank you. Thanks so much. It's amazing to hear everyone present their use cases. So let me also share my screen.
As we speak, we have a lot of audience here, being a very niche subject. Also, we have a lot of viewers watching us on YouTube. So over to you.
Yeah, so sorry, I'm down with COVID, so literally got out of the bed for this, but quite excited anyways to present what we have. We kind of started in this space very early in the blockchain space. It all started when I moved back to India in 2016. And one of the interesting areas back then, we started with a problem actually rather than technology. So we didn't pick blockchain technology right away to solve the problem. But the problem that we were focusing on was the failures in vaccine supply chains. 3 out of 10 vaccines get spoiled before they reach the final consumer. So that's 30 to 40% of wastage. It was a huge problem. I was especially moved by how many children especially die each year because of lack of these vaccines, right? Or lack of availability of these vaccines. So it personally connected, was personally connected to solve this problem. So when I got deeper in terms of understanding where the problem is, what's the issue, so I soon found out. I mean, interestingly, so I live in Hyderabad, and interestingly, Hyderabad is the vaccine capital of the world. So nearly 30% of the vaccines globally get manufactured in this city. And I had no clue until I started looking into this problem. So luckily I had good access to the manufacturing companies. And all of this is like way before COVID, right? So COVID vaccines became popular. When I was looking into this problem, it was a very boring topic, right? So no one cared about vaccines back then. But it was interesting nevertheless. So it was interesting because there was this huge failure rate with vaccines. And India was the biggest producer of vaccines, exporting to nearly 120 countries, right? So all around the world. So I thought, I mean, so like, how do we solve this problem? Because this is huge, right? We're talking about a supply chain, which is the ingredients for this. Majority of these vaccines come from China. So manufacturing is done in India. Distribution happens in 120 countries. There are big organizations like UNICEF, Gavi involved, many governments, many health ministries. Now, here I am, one person. So how do we solve such a big problem? So back then, so we got a little deeper into some of the issues with the supply chains. A lot of these issues, some of my earlier speakers spoke about, which is data silos, the systems don't talking to each other, too much of centralization at each stage. So each government controlling their own system and not sharing data with manufacturers, manufacturing doing the same. So there was a lot of issues with the supply chain. So that's when blockchain came into picture, right? So blockchain was just evolving back then. It was the banks were adopting it. They were the first adopters back in 2016, 17ish. I thought, I mean, there was like a couple of use cases in supply chain, but not big. I mean, there was Walmart using blockchain for the food supply chain, but that was the only reference that we had, right, for supply chain. So so we went with it anyway. So I built a team. We pitched it, and UNICEF, which is the biggest stakeholder in the vaccines world, liked what we are doing. So UNICEF plays a very interesting role. So they distribute nearly 4 billion doses of vaccine each year. So you can imagine 4 billion. And right now, I think they're doing 6 billion because of COVID-19 vaccines also, right? So very large distributor. And they said, hey, this is a very interesting idea and we want to support it. So they funded me for product development through their innovation fund, UNICEF Innovation Fund. So we received follow-up fundings as well from them. So that kind of kickstarted our journey, and we received support from very large organizations, Gavi, World Economic Forum, IDB, IFC. So soon there was a lot of support, which gave us confidence that we are solving a real problem, right? So real problem, and a problem that a lot of these big organizations care about. So we went ahead with it. We developed a solution called Vaccine Ledger, which is quite popular now. It won many awards globally, and a lot of funding. And it's supported. I mean, just 3 days ago, Forbes also wrote about our solution in one of the, I think, top 50 blockchain solutions globally. So it's been a good journey so far. What we are doing, again, as I said, I don't have to repeat the same thing that previous speakers have repeated. But I mean, there's a bunch of stakeholders in the supply chain. All of them, their systems don't talk to each other, creating data silos. So that makes it impossible for them to have end-to-end visibility across the supply chain. So we kind of acts as a decentralized middleware, so to speak. So connecting different dots, taking a product-centric view, capturing data right from the manufacturer to the consumer. So that's what I mean. That's what the solution does. It's taking a couple of seconds to load. Yeah, so I mean, we had successful deployments. We are right now deployed in India, few countries in Latin America. So our focus mostly has been in lower and middle income countries. We're slowly expanding to supply chains which are beyond vaccines. For example, in India, we are also using our same solution to solve some of the problems around public distribution service systems, which is the ration card, popularly known as the ration card, where people get rice at a subsidized price, right? So we're deploying that in Telangana. So our solution is also used by Women and Child Welfare Department in Telangana for tracking their procurements. So we're seeing quite a lot of good traction across the chain, and nothing new apart from what we have already discussed through the past speakers on the supply chain management side. So it kind of creates visibility in the extended supply chain. So you know where exactly the products are, what condition they are in. That opens doors to build financial apps, of course, on top of it. So you can clear vendor payments and do a lot of trade finance, which we are getting into slowly. We have a few modules built out already. So that opens a lot of financial. So I think supply chain and financial are interrelated in this case. So a lot of supply chain data feeds into making the financial applications work more smoothly, even insurance and banking. So so that's about us. I don't want to take too much time. I mean, it's been a long list of speakers, and I'm sure audience can only pick up one or two things from each speaker. So I want to end this here and give opportunity to other speakers. I will be very happy to answer any question.
Thank you so much, Sid, for letting us know, I mean, all the good work that has been done, especially with vaccines. And as you rightly said, we will keep the conversation going. And there is a lot more that our audience and all of us would like to understand. So we will be in touch with each one of you. Moving forward, I'd like to invite Mr. Prasanna Lohar, Chief Innovation Officer, DCB Bank, to kindly take the stage and please help us understand your perspective on the subject today. Hi, Prasanna, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm there. Yeah, just a second, trying to set it up.
Thank you so much for your patience.
So in interest of time, I'll just keep it brief by showing you what is that we do. Okay, this is visible, right? So thank you so much, Jaya and organizer, for inviting me here. I think I could see views from a lot of our friends, Subbu, Ravi, Indrajit, yeah, Harman. Yeah, I think. So I think I'll just give a different perspective, that is that we are doing at DCB Bank, or primarily I do, right? So blockchain I started learning way back in 2015 with a view that what is that Bitcoin all about, right? Going further, we were the first one to start India's largest consortium on bank chain, and we have had our own experiences. How can we drive the banking use cases in India? So primarily, I'm handholding MITI, IDRBT Innovation Hub of RBI. How can we here onwards do the use cases on banking sector? Recently, since last 1 year, we're trying to build India Blockchain Forum along with few of our friends out here in the group, with an agenda: how do we create academia structure, research around, and many more hand-holding exercises for a government, accelerator startups for bringing investments and so on. So going further, at a DCB Bank, we have implemented some of the use cases. One of the use cases we have implemented to open ATMs, which is one of those RBI's advisory. To open ATM, it should be an automated process. So these days, opening ATMs, before this guideline, it was a manual process. Anybody could open the ATM. There was no trace who has opened it, what time he has opened it, for what purpose, and there are times we have landed with some of the disputes. So that is why RBI come up with the one guideline. This whole process has to be automated. So wherein we have taken the help of a company, Sofocal, way back in a couple of years back, where we have our friend Ravi out here, Ravi Chamriya. So the guys has helped us to implement ATM chain kind of a structure, wherein this use case helps at a particular location to create a complete journey of opening an ATM, starting from a login into the system, where we create a one-time combination user ID and a password, which is being shared with some of those stakeholders who are going physically on the ATM and open it. The whole process of generation of a one-time combination, password, utilization, expiry, add on ATMs, right? The whole complete process on blockchain. That's the one thing we could achieve, and now that is given a insight within a bank that we can implement many of those blockchain implementations. Another implementation which we have done, are wherein we are in talks with the other banks also, which is an employee joining process. So wherein we have created a decentralized process for employee joining with eKYC and video KYC. And wherein we are now looking forward to add many more banks out here. The whole process was earlier paper-based, wherein one employee who is joining the DCB, tomorrow he wants to join another bank, will be in a decentralized whole process, right? So can you imagine how much we will save? I think many of our friends spoken about cost optimization or overall automation system, right? So that's another process we are building. So while we build these banking use cases, we identified that getting a sign-off for any process is a very tedious process, right? Typically within a bank where we have a standard SDLC followed by other 3-4 layers with the IT security, IT audit. So we went ahead with some of the smaller use cases apart from the two I explained. One more thing we are doing that whenever we do provide a loan for any of the assets or mortgage within a banking ecosystem, there is a regular process to do the validation of whether that mortgage is still there, exists. The guy who has taken this loan, is he available? The whole process is a manual. Now with the blockchain, what is that we are trying to do is the whole process is automated on the mobile apps, and wherever we do these audits on the field, the whole data points, the person photograph followed by the actual asset, the geospatial credentials, and everything we capture into blockchain so that we don't have any other room to do the or any disputes. Fourth biggest use case, we are primarily at a concept stage at the meeting, Ministry of Electronic Telecommunication of India, along with IDRBT, CDAC. We are building decentralized KYC, which is a video KYC for any of the customer visiting to bank A. And primarily he can visit to the bank B with the same video KYC address. Rather, for banks internally, we don't have to incur a lot of operations cost. Typically, it takes around 5,000 to 7,000 rupees to create a bank account. And moreover, I don't know if that customer is going to be a primary customer or just a customer for namesake, right? So to avoid these costs, is make sure that we are making sure that this KYC can be reutilized. Although there are some tries being done earlier with the CKYC, but we want to leverage same architecture of DigiLocker, eKYC, and video KYC, at times PAN also under this use case. So going further, I don't know, like just apart from what use cases we are driving as of now, there are some of the use cases. Subbu spoke about account aggregator, how we are going to do proof of concepts ahead of account aggregator along with the Origraph. In my sense, I am not sure in 2030 humans will be banking with the banks, right? So typically, some of our friends spoken about NFTs or DeFi. That's going to be the future. So at a DCB bank, personally, I am giving a try. Rather, we are cohesively working with the regulators. How can we build this whole structure? So we had formed one company a couple of years back, and we want to leverage on that EBIC. How do we really make sure that we keep on implementing blockchain use cases? These days, we are talking about digital rupee, which is RBI's innovation. Rather, many central banks are working on it, and we look forward how it can be implemented steadily and in a space wherein a monetary policy investigation, finalization followed by architecture finalization, type of accounts, type of use cases, retail or wholesale. That whole exercise going on, and we are making sure that we are part of those use cases while we do all those utilization of existing railroads like Aadhaar, UPI, so on, right? So in my personal view, we have seen Estonia embarking on 290 plus blockchain use cases, or Dubai is embarking completed a complete automation of all their governance use cases this year. Similarly, at a national strategy of India, we look forward what are those areas apart from banking we can do the automation. Although story starts from the world with the Bitcoin is one of those minuscule use cases. The way email is for internet, Bitcoin was for blockchains. Just to on an understanding basis, but I think we need to leverage the technology part of a Bitcoin, which is a blockchain, and many more consensus mechanisms which are being researched, which are being created. I think these in 2022, we can say that blockchain use case is getting more and more matured. There were tries from Facebook's or some kind of a Libra, which is also diminished. Here onwards, we need to see what is the opportunities for a blockchain, right? So where 2 billion people are unbanked, how they can receive the better financial ecosystem, with through financial inclusion, or how do we meet 17 sustainable goals of a UN, right? So World Economic Forum says that some of these goals can be really made by the blockchain, AI, IoT combination of this technology along with the 5G. So my try is around how do we really mitigate some of these use cases. So where DCB Bank does some of the activities with the Maharashtra government, sooner we will announce those things under Maharashtra Blockchain Mission, wherein we are working on some of the use cases on agriculture, clean water, and we want to leverage on the ecosystems we spoken today. How can we utilize that for these very much required use cases, right? While we have seen the journey of money, right, until electronic money and cryptocurrencies, there are a lot of use cases in banking. Today we are talking about digital rupees, so I'll not be surprised. After thorough study, we'll have some kind of a Bitcoin, some form of a wholesale or a retail currency in a Punjab, or a milk sugarcane coin, or a milk coin, or a solar coin. So these digital currencies will be backed by some assets. So that is how I will not be surprised these kind of innovations will happen in the near future in India. So more or less, when I go back in 2017, when I started my blockchain investigation, we found there are a lot of gaps in the current banking payment ecosystem, right? So some of our friends also explained, right? Overhead of dispute management, reconciliation, a lot of investment of servers, middleware, backend servers, and there is a need of a NPCI kind of a mechanism today, because this is how we created our banking, right? Like trusted agencies, associations like MasterCard, Visa are required, right? But tomorrow's banking can certainly be done just like this, just like a Bitcoin, or just like any of those blockchain-based banking, where we do not need so many servers, so many processes, wherein no dispute, no reconciliation real time, and it is furthermore possible. So while I was looking at what are the challenges in front of a banks are like this, right? So data integrity, traceability, or you talk about network security, where we could see some of the examples like Cosmos Bank or any of those theft like Bangladesh Bank and so on. And at times bank does a lot of multi-party integrations with the fintechs or insurance companies or any of the other financial institutions while they do provide the services to the other entities. And that moment, it takes a lot of time during the integration validation as far as the security is concerned, data integrity is concerned. Fourth aspect of data security, fraud management, right? So currently in the ecosystem, there is a regulation at RBI that every fraud happened at a bank A has to be reported to the bank B through RBI's FMR and the CFR mechanism. And this whole process so time consuming, it takes 40-45 days for another bank to understand what was the fraud had happened. That system coming on a blockchain, it will be just matter of a 1 day or a half a day to see what are those frauds, and other bank can leverage on their data, and while opening bank account, they will take care of some AML aspect or KYC aspect to have a clean account, right? So these are all challenges in front of the bank. This is what we had seen in the current vicinity. Digital identity or tamper-proof data logs, removal of the reconciliation requirement, multi-party data trust. What is the data available at a fintech at that moment and right now at a bank? So, and most of the regulations, if you see by RBI or any of the regulator, financial regulator, is along all these 8 aspects. So what blockchain offers? Blockchain offers that I will remove all of these challenges, right? So something like I will remove all of these challenges either with a single source of truth, tamper-proof, with the data security, configurable access rights, decentralized. So these are all the things which we are discussing in the last couple of hours, right? And that's what we could see. Not only payment, but there will be many more other use cases will come. But primarily, what we have seen challenge in a Indian kind of a scenario, mindset of every bank, right? So every bank has its own hardware, infrastructure. Every bank has its own processes. So what is required is a kind of a collaboration, right? That's a opportunity we could see at RBI Innovation Hub, followed by collaboration with the other banks, fintechs. I think sooner or later you will see some of these collaboration engagements sooner or later. This is something proposed approach for banks whenever any organization want to go ahead with a blockchain kind of ecosystem. Do not look at a consortium kind of a ecosystem immediately. Understand at bank level, how can you create a readiness of a governance, right? How can you buy out your IT security guys, compliance guys to know, they should know what is my blockchain. Well, the step is done. It's very, very easy to collaborate with other banks, right? These days, I'm collaborating with the ICSA and many more other banks for awareness. What are those use cases could be there for a banking ecosystem? So once your awareness is clear, you have quite a confidence that how can we collaborate with the tech ecosystem as well as other banks. Come up with a better consortium structure, representation from the bank, representation from security, infra, technology, business will give good use case like cross-border, trade finance, supply chain, which we are talking today, like invoice discounting and so on. In a banking, the way we could see every business model today is built on internet. And internet is a technology which is a foundational technology. It's not like a disruptive technology. Because of internet, we could build a lot of disruptive innovations. Similarly, we could see that every use case which is there in the bank will be touched upon by blockchain, right? So blockchain will be always on a back office where your interactions with the customers will happen on the front office, or mid office will be something like a smart contract or API or automation kind of a mechanism, which will always interact between a trusted database, so-called built by blockchain, with your front office. So all of your use cases has to be identified and choose some of the use cases wherein you can do some pilot with a within bank or a intra bank and take out those learnings. So today in Indian bank ecosystem, what challenges we have is around architecture. How can we have an interoperability? How can we take care of security among all those infrastructure in a silos infrastructure? How can we agree upon the whole governance structure? So these are all some of the outputs so far these days. And once you complete the pilot POC, certainly it's always a call or always be in touch with the regulation based on type of use cases, whether regulation is required or not required, right? And I think for me, this whole framework is really helping us. And I'm sure we will see a lot of those use cases in which will come in the banking ecosystems. It's a very simple theory, right? Ask any of the business model, operational model, are there more than 2 stakeholders? Is there any data consistency required? Are there multi-parties involvement? Are you paying off a lot of intermediary fees? How long time is remaining?
Pardon, Prasanna? Sorry, no. How long you might? I mean, it's up to you. I mean, it's
okay,
now.
So I can take another 1 minute. So
okay, sure.
so far, the way we are discussing with among other banks at NIBM or at IDRBT, we are looking at these kind of use cases, right? Cross-border payments. Some of the banks are already implemented with the help of R3s and Ripple. Decentralized KYC, which we are working on. CBDC, everybody is now aware how RBI and the FinTech department of RBI looking at non-fungible tokens and a DeFi. Are these 2 use cases will be geared up, maybe in my view, at the end of this year. Considering some of the banks, maybe we can look at how can we distribute our NFTs of our gold loan certificates or any of those things. Next level digital identity, trade finance will take a lot of time. Although there is some work is happening on Aadhaar consent mechanism. The use case which I spoke about, compliance and security, where I will look at how current compliance and security can be eased out because of blockchain kind of technologies. Record keeping within a bank for your documents, agreements, those loan certificates, secure open banking while you are opening your APIs to fintech partners, syndicated lending with along with other banks. I think there are quite a lot of use cases. You could see 18, but I think it can go beyond 50, 60, right? So I think, my dear friends, thank you so much for inviting me to talk about fintech or banking sector, how they are really looking at implementation, adoption in blockchain. There are 4 things which I always advise. Define your use case properly, design it with all your stakeholders, develop it appropriately, and deploy it, because it's a blockchain. It's not a Web 2 kind of a system. You can always change your architecture. You can always go back and change your database structures. It is very, very critical to follow right process for a define, design, develop, and deploy. So yeah, I think this is one of the use case. This is a high-level architecture which we are looking at for a decentralized KYC, which is based upon video KYC, CKYC, Aadhaar, DigiLocker, and we are looking at almost 11 banks are looking at to do work around this along with the guidance of MITI and IDRBT. So there are quite a lot, many other use cases I can speak upon. So thank you so much, organizers and Ms. Jaya, for inviting me here and to talk about use cases in the fintech and the banking area. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prasanna. It's been a pleasure listening to you. It's been really insightful. Thank you so much, and we will keep the conversation going, sir, because we'll have so much more to discuss. At this point, I'd also like to quickly announce that we have been joined by Mr. Rohil Ranjan, who is our ADG at BRICS Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Sir has been traveling. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Jaya. Thank you, Jaya.
Yes, sir. So, sir, now with all your permissions, we will, had invited Mr. Dhairya Maheshwari, special correspondent from Sputnik International, who has been watching and covering this entire webinar today. And in the interest of time, he, of course, had few questions, but he will ask his question and we will see how time permits to take it forward. Mr. Dhairya Maheshwari, welcome to you. And please ask your question to whoever you want to.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to BRICS Chamber of Commerce and Industry for holding this very informative seminar on various applications, potential applications and uses of blockchain technology. My question is for the chairman of Brick Cci, Mr. Vishwas Tripathi. So like we heard so many ideas and so many potential benefits of blockchain technology. So going forward, how do you propose that we engage with the industry and the government to realize all these potential benefits of blockchain technology? Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dhairya. And true to your name, you had been patient, and the transition of patience is Dhairya. So I thank you once again. We are already running 30, 35, 40 minutes delayed from our schedule, and you have been kind enough to listen to all the panelists, everybody. Thank you very much. As chairman of BRICS Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I can only say that as in 1991, I'm forgetting name, Mr. Hugo, saying that, or Dr. Manmohan Singh repeated in Parliament when he gave a budget, revolutionary budget, that nobody can stop an idea whose time has come. This blockchain technology, in the beginning of the session, I thought that I was too much confused about the blockchain, crypto, fintech, and supply chain, all these things, blockchain, how blockchain can influence and help in all these things. But listening to the panelists and all the other people, and now I'm much wiser that it is not a blockchain. It is a chain which is not blocking. It is creating blocks for third parties not to infiltrate, not to dilute, not to lower the systematic, I will say, systematic checks and balances. So now, as chairman of BRICS and as BRICS organization, what I propose to do is that blockchain is not only that we think about crypto and Bitcoin or Ethereum or other things. It is great value addition for good business, for our industry, and good governance for our government also. And we propose that we will create a compendium of whatever has gone through in today's webinar, and we'll create a compendium for the use of the government and for the use of the industry, that look, this is what blockchain is. It can help to industry in a very big way, to MSME sector, as many panelists have already spoken. MSME is something which gives great employment plus revenue generation and GDP contribution for the country, plus the fintech world, not only digital currency or crypto or something like that, but in fintech, in NBFCs, in banks and other things, this blockchain technology can help a lot and can improve the deliverables for all of us, for the benefit of the country and people and industry at large. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I hope, Dhairya, that has answered your question.
Yeah,
And since
thanks
you've
a lot.
covered the entire webinar, we will hope to interact, and we will like to then also read more about the entire webinar today on Sputnik International. Thank you. Do stay with us. At this point, as all good things come to an end, I'd like to request our ADG BRICS Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Mr. Rohil Ranjan, to kindly take the stage and please convey his views and his vote of thanks to all of us. Thank you, sir. Sir, you're on mute, sir.
Sorry, my apologies. Thank you, Jaya. I, on behalf of Brick Cci, would like to congratulate and thank the esteemed panelists for sharing their expertise and applications used in the blockchain domains that they are operating in with fintech and supply chain domain. I also take this opportunity to thank our wonderful audience and their participation to make the discussion interactive through your questions and comments shared with us. It has indeed been a great learning, and the information shared on today's platform is notable and helpful to understand the innovative strategies and usage of blockchain that was shared by our esteemed panelists. Blockchain's deployment is an interesting yet challenging task for both existing and developing businesses. But the knowledge and experience of experts, we are swiftly moving towards a revolution, and there are visible changes in results and process powered by technology. The mission to digitize BRICS nations and BRICS businesses has been successfully implemented in the past, and emerging technologies like blockchain will pave the way for strengthening this objective further. From fintech to supply chain and marketing, everywhere we have seen the multiple applications of blockchain, and the incredible work done by our panelists in their domains are truly applaudable. As we saw from the various user case life examples shared today of blockchain, fintech and supply chain make up a huge portion. The capability of the technology to enhance businesses and productivity is enormous. The various presentations that we have seen today are eye-opening and extremely informative. I congratulate the panelists for their work and contribution to today's webinar. Wishing everyone a great weekend ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And thank you so much, sir. Please, we'll request everybody for group photograph. Kindly stay here and please put on your cameras, please. Request Sid and Ravi to please put on their cameras. Sharvani?
Yes, ma'am. I took one. I'll just take one more. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your patience, and we've had an interesting discussion, and BRICS Chamber of Commerce and Industries will take this forward with a forthcoming B2B on the same subject as we normally do, wherein we will make it more interactive. And we do have a lot of audience questions, which we will be engaging with each one of you one-on-one. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great
Thank you, everybody, on behalf of BRICS.